Hi, welcome back, or welcome to this channel. My name is Brooke and I'm so happy that you're here. I thought today I would do a sit down video, which I have not done, I don't think, in a very long time. And I wanted to provide some updates on different topics that I've talked about here on YouTube, because I realized a lot of the stuff that I introduced here into the channel, which are things that are still being watched and sometimes commented on. I realized I never did like a full closure video to wrap up a few of those things. So I thought today we would get ready together and we could just kind of wrap up some of the big topics. Things like E2M, U-Haul, moving here to Florida, all the things. I thought like we would just kind of go over all the things that have kind of happened in the last 3 years. Because in this month, no, actually, holy moly, it's been 3 years that I have been posting here on YouTube. Wow, that's a long time, and I'm still not monetized. So for any of the girlies, boys, whomever interested in starting YouTube, you should know that the journey is not fast and easy like you may believe. It's a lot of work, time. I mean, honestly, I have been working full time and, you know, all this while I've tried to create this channel and post and all of that. And it's just hard. It's hard with a full-time job, and I am a mom to 4. So it's just, there's a lot going on. And, you know, I used to like really harp on YouTube and what it means to be successful here, but I don't anymore. Like, we're here having a fun, good time, you know? And I'm so happy you're here with me. Truth be told, I have nowhere to be, nowhere to go, nothing to do. I just did a quick little grocery pickup, and that's pretty much all that was on my agenda today. It is Sunday. I was able to reset, obviously, our pantry and our refrigerator because we had no groceries at all. So we got groceries today, and actually I've been cleaning the house for the last like couple of days because it's officially spring break. My hair is so crazy since we cut it. It's just harder to kind of keep back. So nowhere special to be. We're just gonna get ready to hang out, you know. The world is our oyster, right? I thought that we would go ahead and just start off talking about U-Haul. So when we decided to move from Texas to Florida, we were trying to figure out what was going to be the most practical solution for moving and storing all of our things. When we were still in Texas, I had already like chosen an apartment. It was going to be big enough for us. Like, I mean, it was still going to be small for a family of 6, because it was just going to be 3 bedrooms. But it still would have been big enough, especially for us to pull out a few of our things from our storage boxes. Well, when we got here to Florida and we got to the apartment that I chose online, we've realized very quickly that it was not in a great location, that the apartment itself smelled like someone had been smoking just nonstop for years in there, and then they tried to cover it up with chemical smell. And so once we were scrambling here, literally no place to go, we were staying in a hotel, I was able to find a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment, and it was small, like, but it was all that we had. It was the only option that we had in my head in that moment, because we were in kind of a dire situation here with our housing. So once all of the chaos from trying to find somewhere else to live and realizing that we were only gonna have a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment for our family of 6, realizing that our stuff was not gonna fit there, we ended up having to leave our belongings in storage for a lot longer than we had to. So if you saw my U-Haul videos about the U-Haul boxes, it was kind of newer at the time when we were researching this back in Texas, I believe they were just trying to compete with pods. And the thing is pods are all metal containers. So I don't believe, I don't know, we never used pods, but because it was so expensive to have them come and pack you up and store your stuff. So expensive in my head. So I found U-Haul in the U-boxes, and they are all wood crates. So unfortunately, a lot of moisture and all of that stuff can leak into the boxes, even though they were supposed to have the covering on them. And if you saw that video, you will see they have like a plastic covering that went over them to protect them from the elements, the rain, storms, all that, right? So whenever we went to get all of our belongings out of storage when we moved into our house, we were informed by the movers that the boxes were actually not covered with the plastic, because once they got delivered here, they were actually just in the cedar or whatever kind of wood it is that they use for their boxes. So they didn't even have the plastic. And ironically, it was raining the day that we moved into our house. So when we got all of our belongings out of those boxes, it was mortifying. We had probably 50 to 60% of our things completely ruined. Like couches ruined, desks ruined, mattresses ruined, just so much stuff. And I mean, even our dining room table, it's not ruined. We were thankfully able to put it back together, but the legs, you can tell that they had come in contact with, or the base of the table had come in contact with rain and humidity, because it took us a while to be able to slide the pieces back in to place. So I say all that because on the one hand, it was not really U-Haul's problem that we ended up having to store our belongings a lot longer than we ever intended. But also, I was extremely upset that we had to replace so many major items, like not just cheap, things. They were really expensive. I don't want to say really expensive. They're more high-priced ticket items. And, oh gosh, and there was one box that had like pictures and stuff in it that you can tell a rodent of some sort chewed its way in, and there was like rodent stool in some of our stuff on my daughter's bed. We had to scrub and clean all of that. So the situation was not great, and for those reasons, I would absolutely not recommend using the U-Haul U-boxes unless it is just merely a transport from one distance to another. I will say the insurance process was pretty smooth. We did get back money for it. The unfortunate thing is that they weren't going to replace some other stuff that, they weren't going to be able to replace the fact that we had movers. That cost a lot of money too, to have the movers come and transport the boxes, which was also a very strange situation. When the boxes were picked up in Texas, there was like a whole forklift that came and loaded them onto the trailer and took them where they're going. When we got here, they told us that the location that our house was in did not have the resources to bring them all at one time on this big truck the way that they had left while we were still in Texas. So that was very bizarre that we had movers go to the U-Haul place, and basically they were only able to pick up 1 to 2 boxes at each time. So anyway, like that was a whole nother thing, but the movers were fantastic. But it was just so strange. And so the insurance company was not going to reimburse us for hiring movers, because because essentially we had them move all of the stuff into our house. They did the job. Honestly, they deserved everything that they got. The problem is once we got the things into our house, the smell, oh my goodness. Like, I even have clothes like that I've had to wash multiple times to get that mildewy, moldy smell out. And really, when something goes moldy, like, it's very difficult to bring it back to life. So overall, the experience I would not recommend as any kind of like real storage solution. It is so much better to spend the little bit of extra money, or however extra money, if you can, to avoid that situation, because in the long run we end up spending a lot more because our things were ruined. So that's kind of like my full circle thought with the U-Haul U-boxes. If there's any like particular questions that you might have regarding those boxes, you can leave them for me down below. But I just know that I've gotten more questions on the U-Haul series quite a few times. So I wanted to kind of just make a roundabout what ended up happening with U-Haul and the U-boxes, and whether or not I would recommend using them. And I would not use those U-Haul U-boxes again. I thought we could also talk about where I'm at as far as my job goes. I know I've made videos on being a labor and delivery nurse, kind of like where I'm at with being a bedside nurse and all of those things. And I wanted to just say that one of the absolute best things that I've done this year is go PRN1. And that is basically just a requirement to work 1 day a week. And the cons to that are you do not get any benefits. You don't get PTO, you don't get health insurance, you don't really get anything. They do still match 401k, things like that, if I'm not mistaken. But for my mental health, going down to 1 day a week was absolutely the best decision that I've made. I'm just still struggling with the treatment of nurses and like the whole leadership thing. It is just, I know it's like this everywhere and other jobs besides nursing, but I really just don't enjoy that environment. And it's really, really crappy, because if you've been here for a while and you know anything about my nursing journey, I literally have done everything I can to get here. I have done everything I can to become a labor and delivery nurse. Like, I've gone through crap and I've waited and all the things to get to where I'm at. And to be this frustrated and disheartened, like, still. And it's, I couldn't even tell you like one particular thing, you know what I mean? Like, the final topic, the one thing that draws the most people to this channel, and I think it's just because there's not a whole lot of content on it, but I think when I started the channel almost 3 years ago, I was getting ready to start a program called E2M, Eager to Motivate. And I had no idea that that video was going to be as popular as it ended up being. It's the #1 video on my entire channel. I do no longer do E2M. It was great in that time frame for me, but I just don't do it. I don't do it anymore, and that's kind of it. Like, there's no particular reason, there's no anything to it. I went, well, I could probably say that E2M probably did bring back a lot of my love for running. I have talked about it before, but I did cross country and track whenever I was in high school. And funny enough, I actually hated running. I was not good at running. Nobody ever is good at running. And anybody that says that they were just born and they go out and run their first run and it's great and magnificent and they can run distance and blah, 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 that's a lie. But it really does take some time to build up distance and all that stuff. Like, it takes a lot of work, okay? But anyway, I do give E2M credit for getting that part of me back, because that would be my cardio that I would do for cardio days. It's easy, you can do it anywhere really. And so I got back into running with E2M. I learned a lot about meal prepping and things like that. Not really learned about it, but I learned the foods to eat if I wanted to try to limit the amount of bloating I was experiencing and, you know, help lose weight, which it did. I lost 25 pounds, I believe, 25 pounds on the program. It was great. It kickstarted me feeling better again, fitting into my clothes again, because, you know, as a mom, you kind of just lose yourself a little bit in motherhood, especially if you're experiencing any kind of chaos in your life, whether, you know, like we moved a couple of times, like all these different things. And I know I was drinking way too much alcohol as well, which again is something else that I am slowly just kind of getting out of my life. I do not drink, not even a quarter, I don't think, of what I was drinking. And I think that all just goes back to those feelings of like sadness, depression, you're overweight, you're uncomfortable, you don't know what you're doing with your life, you know, all the things. And so I'm really thankful for E2M for kind of jumpstarting the fitness and health journey again for me, because there was a couple of years where it was a little tough, you know? And so, yeah, so I don't do E2M anymore, but I do run all the time again. I actually just went out for a run for the first time in 3 or 4 weeks today. And it just felt so good to get that runner high again. I truly crave it when I'm not running, and I can notice such a difference in my attitude and just mood all around. So I've really loved getting back into running, and I do a ton of Run Disney races now. I'm doing springtime in April. I'm doing a 5 and a 10K. So it's not going to be the 10 miler again, but springtime surprise will have been it will be my 1 year since I've done my very first Run Disney race, which was the 10 miler. And ever since then, I have been absolutely hooked. I could not recommend anything more if I tried. Doing Run Disney has created a healthy outlet for me, because I do not put pressure. I've just decided that at this point, like, there's no weight number that I want to be. There's just, I want to live longer. I want to be healthy, and that's it. So I've actually lost so much weight, but it's good and bad. It's healthy and unhealthy. I have struggled with this abdominal pain, and I've talked about this multiple times, but it has gotten me to a point where, like, I will eat I'll start eating, and then halfway through my meal I'm just completely full and uncomfortable. So I'm having a hard time like getting in the amount of food that I need to be eating, because when you're running and you're burning all those calories, you really need to be loading up on more calories, because otherwise your body just cannot perform on a deficit like that. That is something that I'm struggling with, and I'm trying to work through right now, is just how to put more protein into my diet, and then also like making sure like my carbs are up. And again, like that, I could talk to the coaches for E2M, but that would again go to another reason why like I just don't want to do any of the calorie cutting. I don't want to cut on my meals or anything because I'm already struggling to eat, you know? I forgot to mention, I also, when it comes to Run Disney and the whole running thing, I think we possibly could be doing our first marathon in the year 2025. I think that we're gonna try to do a marathon in 2025. Like, what? Me? 26 miles? Who? We will know if that will be happening next month. But that's kind of a major goal as far as Run Disney goes. It's actually a challenge that I'm too nervous to come out and say I'm thinking about doing and maybe doing and maybe trying to sign up for next month. But yeah, that's kind of a big old goal we have for 2025. I'm so excited. I have no delusions. I'm a little delusional. I have some delusions. Yes, I do. But it's for fun. It's for fun. It's to keep you on point when you're training. Listen, girl, when I am signed up and I've spent a good chunk of change on a race, you better believe I'm training. I'm going to be going out for at least 2 to 3 runs a week. Now, like I said, my fitness journey is becoming something that we're doing to just be healthy, to possibly just live a longer life, possibly live a more healthy, longer life. So it's really not about hitting PRs and things like that. It's truly about just whatever I need to do to motivate myself to continue being active and getting out there for these runs, because my health and my mental health rely on running and just doing all the things to try to be healthy. And so those monetary motivators, they will work. They will work. So that's a major goal for 2025 for me. I just had my first half marathon. That is the first time I've ever run that far at one time. And it was so much fun. I was so happy with just how well I was doing. I didn't push myself at all. Me and my best friend were running together, and so we really just stuck together until the last 1.5 to 2 miles. I did kind of take off at the last part because I just had so much more gas in me, so I took off at the end. But the marathon will be for absolute fun, for training purposes, just staying healthy and active. So very excited. I'm super excited about the accomplishment of running a half marathon. I know so many people do a lot of them, and they might not be a big deal to some people, but that was a big deal for me, even as a long distance runner, cross country track runner. Like, that was super fun and super special for me. So we've kind of transitioned from E2M to doing our own thing over here on the Run Disney running side of things. But I do need to incorporate some weightlifting back into my training, because I do feel like I have fairly weak hip flexors, and like my legs are pretty solid. They feel really good. I could probably work out some more for sure, like on my hamstrings. I would love to get a bike to switch it up a little bit sometimes, especially if I'm just bored with running, which does happen. It still happens. It doesn't matter how much you love running, you do get bored. It's, you know, you're just doing one thing. I would love to find a group, like a running group too, that's local to me, because I think that's so motivating when you're running with other people. So yeah, that's kind of what we switch it up to. We don't do E2M. I'm really not meal prepping a whole lot. I do it every now and then, especially the week before races. I've been trying to make sure I do that because it's very important to be fueled. But those are kind of like some of the updates going on in my life, some of the things that I never really closed out in the past. If there's anything that you are curious about, If you have any questions about anything, just leave them down below. I would love more engagement on the videos, just like us chatting and talking. I love social media for this particular reason, just talking to other people. So if you have any questions, leave them down below. But I had a lot of fun just chit-chatting, getting ready, and talking about a few different things going on that have gone on and all of that. So I'll see you in the next video.